I think we're ready whenever you are.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know Patrick wasn't gonna be there. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the City of Winona Plan Commission, Monday, July 22nd. Could you please call the roll, Doug?
Chair Moore,
Here?
Ms. Fox,
Here.
Mr. Holmberg,
Here.
Ms. Fallett,
Here.
Mr. Chapman,
Here.
Mr. Grice.
Here.
Alder DePula and Mr. Stein are both excused.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 8th, 2024?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
I have a second, motion and a second. Any changes, corrections, additions? I can't see the room, but I'm going to assume there's none. All those
Nothing in
in
the
favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. I think we're going to stick with the order of business that we have. Do we have anybody here to make an appearance that isn't on the agenda this evening with a public hearing?
Hi, Justin Miller.
You're on the agenda.
You're on the, you're on the agenda. This is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. It's for anything that's not on the agenda.
Two applicants in the room, or two items represented in the room, nobody else here. Is anybody on Zoom here to appear for something that's not on the agenda? Not seeing anything.
Okay, terrific, thank you. We'll close the appearances. There is no unfinished business. And we'll move to new business number 7A, public hearing on the request by Harlan LLC on the request for consideration of a certified survey map, CSM, to consolidate two lots for the purpose of constructing a new multifamily residential building at 4111 and 4113 Monona Drive, case number 2-019-2024. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm here
If
today
you could
to try to
introduce
do my
yourself
two
again to the group for the purpose of the Zoom and also the recording. If you could introduce yourself again, that would be great.
I think we're good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got the mic.
Sorry, I do have a hearing issue. I'm here today to put my two lots together. I'd like to combine my two lots at 4111 and 40.
Introduce yourself. Could you
I'm sorry.
introduce yourself?
My name is Jesse Miller of Harlan LLC,
Thank you.
and I'm here to combine the preliminary to combine my lot 7 and 8 on Monona Drive, 4111 and 4113 Monona Drive. We have a certified survey map in front of everyone that should have received, and we're hoping to get that approved to move forward with our plan of building apartments.
Okay, thank you. Terrific. Is there anything else during the public hearing portion? Is there anyone here to speak during the public hearing portion or otherwise contribute? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll move to number 7B, pre-hearing conference on the request by Harlan LLC on the request for consideration of a certified survey map to consolidate two lots for the purpose of constructing a new multifamily residential building at 4111 and 4113 Monona Drive, case number 2-019-2024. Doug?
Thank you. So the request here this evening is a pre-hearing for the certified survey map. Proposal will combine the two existing lots, facilitate proposed future development on the site. As mentioned, the plan here is for an apartment building. This was most recently considered in March of 2024 as a pre-hearing. City staff understands revised plans will return, although we have not seen those, staff has not seen those either at this point. The Land Division and the certified survey process does require Public Works Committee review, and that will follow this meeting at the August Public Works Committee meeting, and formal Plan Commission hearing is expected potentially second meeting in August or following that. And City Council action would follow any possible recommendation from the Commission. Only 4 lots can be created by the CSM over a period of 5 years. The parcels in question are lots 7 and 8 of Block 20 of the Lake Edge Park plat and do not appear to have previously been subdivided. In terms of the standards, the access to streets that are required, no proposed land division shall be approved that results in lots that adjoin, or the lots shall adjoin streets that are 32 feet in width, face-to-face, within a public right-of-way at least 60 feet in width. Monona Drive, that these 2 lots face, is approximately 54 feet wide with a right-of-way of 60 feet and meets the dimensional requirements. The access, and specifically driveway entry-exit, was discussed during the public hearing, and that may be something to be discussed. Certainly any proposal would be determined and reviewed under the access management guidelines as part of the zoning code that are referenced as attachment 3. It does look like there's a 7-foot wide public sidewalk that is located within the proposed boundaries, and it's recommended that the CSM, when it comes through for the formal hearing, should have all easements shown on them just for clarity of that matter. There is no minimum lot size for this property in the multifamily zoning district. However, they shall be able to accommodate future development standards, and the proposed lot 1 would measure just over 20,500. It would be 20,681 square feet, just under half an acre, and that would be to the ordinary high water mark, as shown on the survey. These plans were shared with city department heads for review and comment, and Police Chief Cheney did comment with concerns, renewing concerns related to the entry-exit plans for the vehicle, specifically the interactions and negotiations of traffic along Monona Drive and the converging traffic from the Lake Edge Shopping Center across the street. That's it from staff.
Thank you. Doug, is it, before we move to the commission, is it unusual to be reviewing a CSM prior to seeing a development in further form than we saw it the last time?
I would say that it can be done in either way, really. The applicant will have, after city council action, will have 12 months by state statute to record the certified survey map before those possible approvals would expire. So there would be time still to do this. Sometimes I would argue the CSM may even come through a little later than normal. That may be coming through for a pre-hearing along with the consideration. So the applicant is able to do this. It does make some of the discussions a little trickier, certainly as it relates to things like access, specifically in this case. But that could be something the commission could potentially explore as to maybe, the wanting to see sort of the next iteration of plans prior to the certified survey map coming back, possibly.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'm going to turn it to Chris Homburg.
Okay. As far as your question, I believe that whatever goes on this lot, they'll want to combine those 2 lots. And what we would be approving with the CSM is totally independent from any other proposal he has brought or will bring. What we're looking at tonight is this an appropriate CSM for that piece of property? So I would argue we wouldn't even talk about access because there's nothing being proposed. And I would go so far as to say when, Doug, you notice it next time, don't notice it for the purpose of building apartments. He's looking for a CSM to combine 2 lots, to have a larger buildable lot, and that's what we're looking at. It has no ties to what's been proposed or will be proposed, other than it's a larger buildable lot. And I would argue anybody that had those 2 narrow lots on the lake would probably do this unless they're going to put 2 very narrow homes. So I think it's appropriate to look at it. That's really my only comment on it. I think the CSM is fine. It's appropriate. It just has nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that he's combining 2 lots. And that's what he'd like to do. So I have no issues.
Thank you, Chris. Corey?
I think the reason that it was noticed that way is because of the letter that Mr. Miller did submit, which does say what his plans are.
But we can't
No, I
talk
understand
about
what
that
you're
with our
saying.
approval of this. All we're looking at is approving a CSM.
So my comment would be similar to what Chris was saying. Like, this does seem, I agree, somebody would want to combine these, if you own both of them, I understand why you'd want to combine them, as long as you do understand that that is not an approval of what you had proposed to us back in March. So we're just talking about the CSM.
Just-
And that makes sense to me, and I understand why you'd want to do that and look fine.
Yeah, I really have nothing to add. That was my concern too, that you be clear on what we're actually approving, which is simply the lot. Because I think we want to see something a little different than what we saw before, but again, not on the agenda for tonight, so no problem with the lot.
Okay, thank you, Susan. John?
I support this request. No comments.
Thank you. Brendan?
I have a couple questions, but it's not really for you, probably more that Doug, you can help answer this. So there's a certain, just as far as the plat map, we're talking about how this is being recorded. You know, we've got this 7-8 numbering, the combined plot is being numbered as plot number lot 1. Can you help me, why does that make sense as the successor number, you know, to replace 7-8?
It's mainly because this would be documented as certified survey number. I think they're in the 16,000s now, something like that. So it would be lot 1 of that certified survey map. So were there to be multiple, it would be lot 1, 2, 3, you know, and then sort of leading on from there. So they don't follow the sequencing. Let's say if this were lot 7 or 8 of that CSM, I think it would confuse the matter that there would be others associated with that specific.
Okay. And then the comment you were making here a second ago about like this expiration, that even if, on the condition that we say approve this, but then there are other plans that are brought forward, let's say either through the action of the pace of development or the pace of approvals, there's some point at which the certified survey map in terms of being recorded might regress to the prior plotting, prior plat.
No, so the applicant, following the city council, let's say that goes through council, is approved, and the conditions of any approval have been satisfied. At that point, the certified survey map would be recorded, can be recorded with the Register of Deeds of the county, and that is the timer, the 12-month timeline. It has nothing to do with the development timeline or anything like that. So the applicant is within their right to do that as soon as that happens, or they can wait 11 months and, you know, most of that final month as well. So that's their choice if they would like to do that. The Slindy development most recently did not, for example, record the certified survey map, but that could have been done separate of the GDP PIP. So,
And then the last one is, can you explain the statement about the this 5-year period? Is that like a constraint on the city, or is that a constraint on the set of plots or a set of parcels here? Can you like maybe unpack what that sentence means?
Yes, so that is based on the state statute. To be able to use a certified survey map process, that needs to be the case, that you can't use this to sort of frequently make changes, let's say to lot dimensions within that 5-year period. So
the applicant, this particular,
the parcels in question,
okay,
yes.
parcels in question, okay.
It sort of says, following that, if it is greater than that number of lots being created or in that time period, then it would need to follow the platting process, the preliminary platting process, which is more of a sort of subdivision type element that, of course, we don't get into very much here, but other communities do. So sort of as I understand it in the land division world, this is sort of a simpler way of doing things, the certified survey map. So if this is for many or many in a quick duration, that's why it sort of pushes it to the other elements instead.
Mhm. In terms of the scope of what we're reviewing and approving, I don't have any issue with it. I think it's fine. I agree with the comments that have already been made. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, terrific. Is there anything else? This is just a pre-hearing conference. We're not looking for action tonight. Is there anything else for this particular applicant? And to the applicant, do you understand the feedback generally that you've received from the commission? Any clarity that we can provide you?
I understand.
Okay. Great. Well, I thank you for coming in tonight. And appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again some other time. So with that, I'm going to move to number 7C, public hearing on the request of Alonz's Auto Sale for consideration of a zoning permit for a new use at 5734 Monona Drive, case number 2-020-2024. Who is here this evening to present on this particular application?
Hello, my name is Miriam Cortez. I'm here with Luis Alanis, and for Alanis Auto Sale.
Thank you. Do you want to explain a little bit about what you intend to do with the auto sale?
Yes, this is our first business that we are planning to open in here. We have talked to the owner. We're just waiting for all this to be ready to sign a contract with him. So this is Luis. He don't speak really good English, maybe none. So I'm gonna be translating if he needs some. But we have already, we have all the plan already. So.
Okay. Great. Anything else you want to say about this particular request during the public hearing portion and this new use? What the business is going to be?
Yes, we're gonna be selling used cars.
Mm-hmm.
For now, we are not planning to do anything to the building. It's just as is. It's just perfect for us. You have plenty parking stalls in there. It's one entrance which is shared to a business, but it's not like no, it's not going through our parking lot. It's just by the side, so it's just perfect. And I think that's gonna be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here to speak on behalf of this applicant? Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll go to the pre-hearing conference on the request by Alon's Auto Sale for consideration of a zoning permit for new use at 5734 Monona Drive, case number 2-020-2024. Doug?
Thank you, Chair Moore. The request this evening is a zoning permit application for a new retail motor vehicle dealership at the former Mali Yoga Center at 5734 Monona Drive. The zoning permit is required for both the new use and also because the property has been vacant for more than 6 months. The applicants would be utilizing the existing building for offices with no building modifications planned. Proposed hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. with 3 employees at full staff. As mentioned, the applicants do not intend to provide repair or maintenance services and will instead partner with local auto shops. And the applicant seeks feedback as part of the pre-hearing with the intention to return to the Commission with final plans. The property is part of the Retail Business Zoning District, and that is characterized by retail, trade, service, office, financial, professional, ancillary residential, and entertainment activities serving the community, and is also listed in the city's comprehensive plan as commercial in both the current and future land use maps. And the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission defines commercial uses as land use for retail, service, commercial, and office uses. The Commission should discuss the compatibility of the proposed use with the surrounding uses. Adjacent uses include Woodland Park to the south, multifamily residential to the east, and retail commercial uses to the north and the west. The majority of motor vehicle dealerships within the city are located in the Community Design Zoning District, specifically along the Broadway corridor, as well as an example along Femright Drive. And there are vehicle repair shops on Monona Drive, but not a dedicated dealership. The parking standards for this use would require 4 parking spaces plus 1 additional space for each 500 square feet of floor area over the first 1,000 square feet. And the building is approximately 2,300 square feet, which would necessitate 7 parking stalls. The existing property contains 27 stalls, of which the applicant has indicated that 19 of these would be dedicated for car sales, 5 for customers, and 3 for employees. During the site visit, staff did notice that the parking lot was generally in poor condition and in need of some restriping and potentially some patching there as well. And that can definitely be a discussion in terms of the timing of that work as to when that may be completed. Landscaping, the submitted materials do not include a landscaping plan. The existing landscaping is minimal and pretty overgrown, and there's some small plantings in the buffer between the parking lot and the sidewalk, as well as one large shrub in the southeast corner. There is an existing fence also kind of buffering between or dividing between the eastern property line, screening from the multifamily residence to the east. One point of discussion could be there, clarifying who owns that fence, as potential improvements, maintenance of that could take place as well. One thing of note is that there have been some enforcement challenges, both when this was previously occupied as well as since it has been vacant, in terms of snow shoveling, general landscaping maintenance, upkeep. So discussing that and plans during occupancy of this space would be important as part of any consideration of action. The Commission should discuss the level of landscaping and what they would like to see as part of the formal consideration, while still providing the adequate visibility. The most recent discussion of this type of use was at 915 Femrite Drive, which was zoned Community Design District, but the Commission generally felt that a full hedge along sort of between the use and the sidewalk was not necessary. Decorative plantings could provide sufficient screening without blocking the view of cars for sale. This property is subject to the Monona Drive Urban Design Guidelines, so that does discuss requirements for landscaping and a buffer strip that shall be provided between the sidewalk and parking. It should consist of shade trees, low shrubs, and/or perennial flowers, ground cover, and ornamental grasses with a maximum of 3 feet in height. Site circulation, this would be accessed off a single curb cut along Monona Drive, and that is shared with the adjacent commercial building, which is currently vacant to the north. The drive-through in the rear of the building will not be used, and the applicant mentions in their materials that they expect most vehicles to be driven to the site with minimal deliveries. Given the layout, the proposed layout and sort of the angles here, it would be difficult for any sort of trailer, for any semi to get into the property for loading and unloading purposes of vehicles, and certainly would not be an option to unload onto Monona Drive. And I'll get onto that. There were a couple comments from the city's police department as it related to that. There are no improvements proposed at this point to the building for modifications or for remodeling. It's not clear from the materials if there will be any exterior improvements, and it was noted that certainly in the rear of the property during the site visit that it was in pretty poor condition. A couple elements there, some building materials and trash accumulation also present that could do with being cleaned up. The hours of operation Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the 3 full-time employees, as previously mentioned. The materials show one existing light pole in the northeast corner of the parking lot, and the applicant has not indicated any additional modifications to this. There is a base of a former light pole present at the south end of the lot, but not proposed to be reused at this time. So there are some concerns about general site lighting, both for the business, for vehicular display, but also for general safety, given the proposed hours of operation. Signage is not included in the application and would most likely require Plan Commission review, separate sign permit consideration. There were a few, these plans were shared with department heads for review and comment. Police Chief Cheney had some strong concerns about delivery traffic, parking of the proposed business, specifically trucks loading and unloading vehicles, and having those operations be specifically on Monona Drive. Also some comments about the lighting, parking lot lighting for this business in operation after dark. Lieutenant Weigel from the police department as well had a comment about a similar operation on Cottage Grove Road, that he sees a semi-car hauler trailers unloading onto Cottage Grove Road, posing a traffic hazard that he mentioned could be the case here as well. And then Public Works Director Stefani shared some concerns about proximity to Woodland Park, as well as general maintenance of the lot, the work that was done with Monona Drive, and the lack of upgrades that are proposed here as part of that, and suggested these being considered as part of any future submittal here. That's it from staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Brendan, would you like to start this one?
Sure. In terms of, I don't really have a problem with the appropriateness of the use of the lot. I do agree about the concern for how vehicles might be delivered. because it's a really difficult spot, because I don't think there's a left turn when you're coming south on Winona Drive. You can clearly turn right in, but it's a small lot. So I don't think that a trailer would work at that location. I agree about the lighting, that I think that the site it'd be good to have a better level of lighting. I could go either way as it relates to landscaping at the curb, because I understand what the business is there for. I certainly would say some things to clean up the existing landscaping that is there. I think restriping the lot, cleaning up the lot would do a lot to help drive business. The condition of the building, at some point, I would think for the sake of the business that there would be a desire and interest for signage and kind of cleaning up the facade of the building. But I think that it's a reasonable enough starting point for me. That's all I've got.
Thank you. John?
I support the use of a dealership in this location. I do have a question regarding, you'll be a tenant in the property, right? You don't own the building.
I do not.
So the topics of landscaping and condition of the lot, doesn't that fall on the owner versus a tenant?
As it relates to preparation for so certainly the maintenance, I recognize that's not something that is often shared, kind of the code enforcement challenges and things. That typically, could be the landlord's responsibility. That would be by lease, in terms of snow removal, sidewalk clearing, things like that. But specifically the condition of the lot, the zoning permit is the opportunity for that to be addressed. So whether that is a tenant improvement that is done by the applicant or by the landlord, this is sort of the opportunity for that to be captured. Whether it is the responsibility or the cost is borne by the owner or the applicant is sort of their discussion. But as it relates to the use and sort of getting it to a condition for opening, and sort of staggering those potential improvements, that can certainly be discussed at this.
Okay, did you understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
We have talked to the owner about it.
Okay.
He was actually today there doing cleaning. Before we sign the contract, he's gonna finish to remove all the, I think it's trash, the ones they have in the back. I think it's from the last person who was in there.
I would agree with the previous comments that improvement to the lot
Yes.
might improve your business,
Yes.
the ability to sell cars.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should examine the lighting levels and make sure that they meet requirements.
Okay.
And I think the delivery issue, I think we could point out a number of locations along Winona Drive that might fall into the same category. And I personally have always been amazed at how creative truck drivers can get. They probably would go across Owen and then drive straight over.
Yeah.
So, they kind of figure that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have.
Thank you, John. Susan?
Well, I do have concerns about the appropriateness, I guess. I don't see it as a really appropriate use for that location, just partly because there just isn't much of a terrace between the street and the parking lot where you can do plantings to screen it. I mean, in general, there's a difference between having, I guess that's why most of the car-type businesses have been located on Broadway. And then Femrite, that was also a different location where there was more room to do more plantings in the front, and the way it was being used, some of it was more hidden from the street. That's a very busy intersection, and it's a key part of Winona Drive, and it being right next to the park. I guess I do have some concerns about that. If this does get approved and you're going to go ahead with it, well, one question is, do you know who owns that fence? Is that part of this property or part of the apartment property, or do you know that?
Yeah, the owner of that building owns.
He owns the fence.
Yeah, the fence.
To me, that would be one expectation, that would be repaired and painted. There's a lot of cleanup to do on that parking lot. I would expect there would have to be screening on the south end of it as well as the Monroe Drive part, and I'm not sure how robust you could get plantings in there to do that. That's a concern I have. I think there's just not enough room for sufficient screening of that number of cars. I also, I'd have to rethink the deliveries. That does seem to be an issue to me, but you may be right, maybe it wouldn't be. I mean, you say most of the times they would be driven
Yes.
in, which it's possible we could write a condition that required that they be driven in, but I would think that that would kind of solve that problem. I think for sure you should have that second light pole. I don't know if it's just not operational right now, but I would think you would need both light poles working, particularly to protect your property and also for safety, if it's in evening hours. Landscaping definitely is a major upgrade, as does the pavement, and the restriping would have to be done. So there's a lot of work to be done to that property to make it workable for any future use, really. And it is true when people come to us with a proposal, that's the one chance we get to say, hey, this has to be cleaned up and fixed. So that's about all.
Thank you, Susan. Corey?
I actually agree with Susan. I do also have some concerns about this use at that specific location. I was looking at the standards for the retail business district, and we have our zoning code, but we also have our comprehensive plan. And so I was going back and just taking a look at what the goals of the plan. I mean, that's a great big plan, but it's something that we need to be considering as well as we're looking at applications that come in. And there were a couple of things that stood out to me about this particular site. One of them was the location of it next to the park. And in looking and thinking about how some of our goals and objectives are stated in the plan, there needs to be compatibility of adjacent uses. And if not, there's supposed to be buffering. I think that's what Susan was talking about, is putting in some more landscaping, because the park is right there. And then also thinking about some of the different applications that have come into us, and we just have an approval for a 5-story, 300, I don't remember how many unit apartment building. So there's going to be a lot more people, and one of the goals of the city is to have businesses that are walkable and provide the amenities that people would need. I mean, they need cars as well. So, but I don't know that that's the type of use that would support that area the best. That would not be the best use, perhaps, for that site. I do really like your business proposal. I think it would be great down on Broadway, West Broadway, where there are a lot of, I know you're looking for a site that has another building already, so you don't have to build one, and I totally understand that. But I think this business would be a great use in a different location of the city. I just don't know that this would be the location that would fit here. And I agree with that fence. I see that fence every day, because I drive past it every day. And so if it were to go forward, I agree that there is a lot of maintenance that would be needed, and working with the landlord on that would be really important, because you want it to be attractive. You want people to come and not trip on the terrible, crumbly pavement, but, so there's some needs there. But I do have concerns about this use in that location.
Thank you, Corey. Chris?
I agree with the last two speakers. I don't think this is the right use for that lot. I don't think it's the place for it. And I agree that anybody that comes in for approval with this site, there has to be a lot of work done on that site. It can never be just, well, we're just going to move in and use it the way it is. But I don't think this car lot works there. I agree with you too. I think there's a number of reasons.
Okay, great. And I would say, given the split here, I would just say that I would concur that this particular site doesn't make sense for me for car sales either. Again, as Corey said, I think there are other, we would love to have your business in Monona, and I think there are other sites on Broadway that might be possible, but I'm also envisioning, you know, the spotlights that we're just talking about, needing more light there for car manufacturing. I mean, you know, right next to that lot, as was pointed out, is a park, and that particular park is an oak savanna forest, and that's rather cherished, and so it's hard for me to imagine spotlights being on to protect the cars without potential damage to the wildlife, flora and fauna that we're trying to foster there as well. So so any other comments, any other feedback for this particular applicant as it relates?
I have a question. Based on the architectural style of the building, I believe the original use was a Taco Bell, is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes,
And it had a drive-through?
yes.
Okay, just want to make that comment.
Yep. Okay. To the applicants, do you understand where the commission is coming from? And do you have any other questions of the commission while you're here during this pre-hearing?
Yeah, I understand. No more questions.
Okay. Doug, I trust you'll work with this applicant to see if maybe there's other opportunities here in Monona that might be more
Yes.
suitable?
Yeah, I'll give them a call after this meeting tomorrow and sort of check in, discuss kind of next steps and opportunities, and answer any questions that come up. Absolutely.
Okay, terrific. Thanks very much. And thank you for coming in this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
That takes us to number 7E, public hearing on the request by Argent Companies, represented by Sign Art Studio, for approval of a sign permit for 2 projecting signs at 6,000 Monona Drive, case number S-019-2024. Welcome, the floor is yours. Luke?
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We are working with the team at Argent Companies to just help bring a little bit of visibility to the back side of this building. Front side of this building is mostly retail tenants, and the back side is more of a commercial space for office spaces. And they're having some trouble getting people, once they come around the back side of the building, to know which door. There are 2 separated suite doors on the exterior of this building, and they are not connected internally. So people are going in the wrong building. So we're proposing 2 small projecting signs just to give the driving traffic an early alert on where both to park and which doorway to enter into the space.
Casey, since you're also from Sign Art, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, sorry, my video isn't working very well. Luke, my counterpart is the account executive, so he knows more than I. So I'm going to let him speak on my behalf.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak during the public hearing portion of this particular applicant? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move to number F, 7F, consideration of action on the request by Argent Companies, represented by Sign Art Studio, for approval of a sign permit for 2 projecting signs at 6,000 Monona Drive, case number S-019-2024. Doug?
Thank you. So the request here, 2 new projecting signs, 6,000 Monona Drive, just under 11 square feet each, both non-illuminated projecting cabinets with two tenant panels and 3 tenant panels respectively. They would both be over 10 feet above the sidewalk, facing north and south, and as mentioned, these would be on the eastern building facade, on the north and south side of the building to help with identification, getting folks into the right door for the professional office tenants. The building here does have a comprehensive sign plan for Water Tower Plaza that was approved by the Plan Commission in 2008. The CSP only allows for on-building signage on the building's western and southern facades, and so they're seeking an exception from the CSP to allow for on-building signage on the eastern facade, and also for the projecting signs, which are not strictly part of the CSP. So the property, 6,000 Monona Drive, is zoned part of the Community Design District, CDD, and also part of the Monona Drive corridor and subject to the urban design guidelines, which requires signage to provide adequate signage for business identification, legibility, and visibility, and protecting the aesthetic of the overall streetscape. The projecting signs themselves are classified as on-building signs within the city's sign code, and the staff report sort of includes the details there that they do comply with those standards, both in the projection, the height, as well as the total square footage, and they are allowed to be illuminated, and these are not proposed to be. The one element here is that they do not abut a public street frontage, but the parking lot for the center does have a significant number of stalls on this eastern side of the building. And as mentioned again, it would be 3 tenant panels on this sign 1 and 2 tenant panels on sign 2. So the staff recommendation is discussion as it relates to the comprehensive sign plan. And if the commission recommends approval, then suggested or recommended findings of fact and conditions are included. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to start with Chris.
I think they look good. I would ask that in your second finding of fact, you add in, it talks about city code has been revised since the approval of the comprehensive signage plan, but add to allow this type of signage. So our sign code allows this now, so it's wholly appropriate, and that's certainly a finding of fact. And then maybe on your third one, you could add the point that these are the only public entrances to these businesses. So they absolutely, it doesn't matter if it fronts on a street or not, they need signage to show this. And that's another very strong finding of fact for allowing these signs. I think they look good. I think they're completely appropriate. And it won't hurt the back of that building and have a couple signs on it.
Corey?
I drove back there and thought, didn't even know this was back here. So I agree. I think the signs would really help with wayfinding back there.
Okay, great. Susan?
And I agree, I have no problems with the signs. I actually wondered if, I noticed the land sign on the front of the building has spaces for more tenants. They're not all used. Do you ever have problems with people finding that those businesses are back there, or it's just more a matter of which door to go in? Just curious. Maybe you can't answer that because you're.
Are you asking?
Yeah,
me?
yeah. That's not really an
They're
issue.
really, I believe that they're more of a known destination, so they're not so much visibility in there as they are. People know where they're generally going. It's just when you get to that.
It's just
the people are having trouble.
The entrances, yeah. Yeah, no, I think it makes total sense, so no problem with the sign.
Wonderful.
Thank you. John?
I think it's a very nice presentation graphically. I think the signs are simple. I think they're elegant. I think they add to the building, and I'd like to see you guys do more signs in Monona.
Okay, Brendan?
Yeah, I want to second John's comment there in particular. I think these are particularly well-designed signs, very tasteful and elegant signs. I think they'll really be a nice addition to the building, and I would agree about the confusion. I have fallen prey to that myself at that building, so I think this will be a good improvement. Yeah, I'm in full support of the.
Whoops, sorry. That being the case, do I have a motion?
I'll move approval with findings of fact as written by staff, but add on to number 2 that our signage code now allows this type of signage, and then add on to number 3 that these are the public entrances, so they're not necessarily they butt on a road. And then the conditions of approval is written by staff.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Yep. With that, we'll move to number 8, reports from staff and commission members, economic development update and upcoming plan commission items.
Thank you. So building on discussion from the last meeting, we did have the pre-construction meeting with the Blue, the 98 units on Monona Drive. We're expecting work to begin this week. The erosion control measures are in place now, and we're expecting they'll be mobilizing this week. They've got the footing and foundation permits, so excited to see some movement there on the site and some progression moving forward. So I expect to see that this week. Upcoming planning commission items, I did receive the materials for the certified survey map, the pre-hearing for the Topgolf use on West Broadway. So the pre-hearing CSM, as well as the zoning permit formal consideration ask for the use specifically. They're targeting the second meeting in August, the August 26th, giving us a little more time there just with the volume of items that are included. But if sort of looking ahead to future agendas, that's going to form the bulk of that August 26th meeting.
I won't be in attendance that day, and I just thought I'd let you know now since it's summer and others might be
Thank you.
around
Yes.
or not around.
Thanks.
I will also, by the way, not be available on August 26th. So you should check with Patrick.
Yes, I will. It's probably appropriate. I'll send an email, whether it's a poll or whether it's just respond back, but I'll make sure that we have quorum kind of locked into that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just report on this front, excuse me, around economic development update that I had an opportunity to take an early tour of the North Point development on Broadway, and was along with Mayor Mary O'Connor, and was quite literally blown away by not only the progress that they've made, but the design overall and the views. Frankly, the view from the 5th floor, one could argue, beats the view at the top of the Current. So it's really stunning. They're doing terrific work over there, and they expect to be looking at occupancy, what, Doug? Really September-ish, right?
Potentially mid-August for the first
Yeah.
townhome building, which would be the westernmost, the one closest to the private drive. So looking at a potential leasing office in one of those spaces, as well as the other 5 being available. Applications are currently open for those units.
Yeah, I expect those units will go pretty quickly. And also in relation to that, I want this commission to know that I asked specifically about the commission being able to take a tour, as well as the city council being able to take a tour. If not, and in fact, they're going to have a grand opening in early November, but I'm going to try to work with Sean and Shane to see if we can set something up so that you guys can get over there too, because I think it's as I said, it's certainly going to surpass anything else we've done from a sustainability standpoint. They've already got solar on the roof, and all kinds of insulation in the garage and all kinds of other major developments around sustainability, and the units themselves, like I said, are really beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking 3 lakes. I mean, it's pretty, and you can't hear the Velt line at all from the apartment buildings. So that was one of the things that was really impressive as well.
So the response was we have to wait for the open house? Is that what I understood?
No,
you said?
no.
Just curious.
The suggestion, Susan, was that you would have to wait for the open house, and my suggestion back
Oh,
was that we find a way
okay,
to
So
have you guys
something
come in sooner than that.
thanks.
Yeah. I'm confident that Sean and Shane will be able to figure something out.
Absolutely.
Anything on, Doug, that you have on diversity, equity, inclusion, or sustainability?
Nothing else from staff on that.
Okay? And anything else on upcoming meetings?
I will be updating the commission. I will be gone August 12th. I'm not available for that meeting, but in talks with the assistant planner right now as to whether we'll have, depending on the volume of items coming forward, if there's, a couple smaller items, we can kind of keep moving on August 12th, but the preference at the moment would be to cancel that meeting. So I'll be coordinating with him, and we'll send an email to the commission.
I'll second that.
Let everybody know what's happening.
Well, thank you. Any plan commission requests of information from city staff? Okay. That being the case, I'll be delighted to take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all again. I apologize for being a few minutes late.
No problem.
Just a different time zone and
Nancy, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your night, Nancy.
thank you.